to Stoughton Politics with this guy. I am your host, Noah Beit-Aharon, and I'm very pleased to be interviewing Tamisha Civil, who is on the Governor's Council and wears other hats as well.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you, Noah, for having me, and it's always a pleasure to come and talk to our Stoughton community. And as well as politics, we know that it's very important right now to have a conversation, healthy conversation, and just to talk about the things that we do in our community.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Okay, I want to ask you first sort of about your background, how you got involved in Stoughton politics, and then in statewide politics.
Sure. So I started, I would say, in 2020.
Okay.
I ran for state representative during COVID time, as well as I ran twice.
Okay.
And I came up short, and then I took a break, and I didn't know what else I wanted to do. And someone reached out to me, and they was like, hey, the Governor's Council is an open seat. Would you like to run? And I thought about it. You know, sometimes it can get discouraging when you run, you put all your efforts in, and then you come up short. But that's the nature of the game, right? And I felt that I had something greater in me that I wanted to do for our community, and being active, and just being able to support our constituents on a capacity that I can. So I ran for Governor's Council, and I was able to win the seat. And I am just so very grateful to our community for supporting me along the way. But prior to becoming a governor's counselor, I was working at Stoughton District Court as a probation officer, associate probation officer, where I help people who have committed crimes or, you know, who have been put on probation by judges to monitor them, to make sure that, you know, not only they're getting the resources and access that they need, but also monitoring them from reoffending and making sure that they're reporting to me on a monthly basis, or however the judge wants them to report to me. And I loved what I did because I met so many different people from all walks of life. And, you know, I've also worked as a victim witness advocate for the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. And I was helping victims navigate the criminal justice system, helping them get resources on how to get housing, getting restraining orders. And I love that as well. And, you know, and I also worked at a domestic violence homeless shelter, also helping women and children that has been battered by violence, and making sure that they also get the access that they need and protection. So, you know, I worked over a decade in the criminal justice system, working in courts, working alongside of judges, police officers, clerk magistrates, and prosecutors, defense attorneys. And I've learned a lot. And I love everything about my job because I learned something new, different.
Yeah.
Every day. Nothing is the same. Yeah. But most important, you have a sense of gratitude, and because you think you have issues until you meet someone that you have to help. Yeah. So, you know, I ran for the office. I won, and I'm here now. And Governor's Council, we advise and consent judicial nominations, as well as clerk magistrates, parole board members. We do commutation and pardons, and we sign off on treasury warrants. And I'm very active in my community. I work alongside committee members in the YMCA. I'm also part of a sorority, which is based out of Brockton. And, you know, we service all mankind. We do backpack food distribution at the Stoughton Y on Fridays. So my life is just all about service. And a lot of people don't know is that my district is a congressional district, and it's 37 towns, cities and towns. So I have Norfolk, Bristol, Essex, Middlesex, Plymouth. So I'm dealing with 37 cities and towns.
So It's by congressional district, so it's like the Massachusetts 8th, the same as the.
It's District 2.
Oh, okay.
It's District 2, and it's just a wide. It goes up and down, starting from Attleboro, ending down to Rentham.
Oh wow.
So it's a lot of work, but it's the work that I love to do.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, like, the resume is like job after job that people might describe as burnout jobs, right? Jobs where it's hard, emotionally speaking, to be doing this work day in, day out. You know, my background before actually until we moved to Stoughton, just about is working in elder care, which was another like burnout kind of a job where people will work for a while and then they're like, okay, I'm not sure how much more of this I can take, right? And so how do you replenish your energy?
I mean, I go to the gym a lot.
Okay.
You know, that's a sense of self-care for me.
Yeah.
But I just love people. I love to serve people. You know, that's how I was raised. You know, my parents are Haitian American, Haitian. They migrated here 45 years ago. And, you know, I saw them work so hard, help me and my siblings get through college. You know, I earned my master's in criminal justice and leadership from Northeastern. And I just, you know, the things that you would learn and the things that you see growing up, you know, kind of intertwines and makes you the person that you want to be. And my mom always used to cook a full big meal on Sundays after church, on Sundays, and then just invite people over.
Oh, that's great.
And, you know, we just have conversations. So it's in my blood. And, you know, they usually say time flies when you're having fun. And I can't believe that I'm running for re-election already next year.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice because of the amount of people I get to serve and talk about the Governor's Council and how it's important, because the way that what motivated me most, and some people may know the story, some may not, probably you don't, but it started off with not only my educational, I have the education for it, I have the professional experience, but personally, I have a cousin of mine that spent 27 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit in the city of Boston, right? And he was exonerated from his charges.
Yeah.
And he was released in 2021. And when I have conversations with people, you know, you'll be surprised how many people have either gone through it or know someone who's been wrongfully convicted of a crime. And that's the balance that we need, right? We need to educate how the criminal justice system has penalized, you know, the marginalized community more than their counterparts. Or how do we balance off and hold someone accountable for their action, but also making sure that the punishment is aligned with what they have done? So I think, you know, the story, my personal experience have made people gravitate to want to know more about our criminal justice system. And when you're looking at what's going on in the world, you still hear these kinds of stories. So one of the things I do is I love to have conversations such as what we're having right now.
Well, on that note, I feel like I ought to make a plug for another SMAC show, which I do not host. I think it's called Confronting Injustice, and we can put details on the screen. I can't put details on the screen, but those wonderful people can put details on the screen because it is worth watching. You know, we have interviews with people who were, you know, either wrongly convicted and had their convictions overturned, or who, you know, were convicted on very harsh penalties for something that, you know, didn't justify it and that kind of thing. Okay, so you've kind of answered one of the questions I wanted to ask, which was, you know, why the Governor's Council? Which is that somebody reached out to you and said, you know, there's an opening, you know, and I think you'd be good for it. So then what kind of research did you do to decide if you wanted to do this?
You'll be surprised. Even if you're in the legal system and you're working, there's a lot of positions that you're not aware of. So I really didn't know that, governor council even existed. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't really hear enough of it to even, interest me. Most of the time people run for office, they run for Senate, Congress, or they run to be a state representative, right?
Right.
And, I was like, governor's council. Even lawyers don't know what governor council is.
Yeah.
And so I just did research. I'm like, okay, so you nominate judicial appointees. All right, I've worked with judges for more than 10 years. I know their temperament. I work alongside of them. I know how they operate. That's a check mark. And, I have a college degree, master's in criminal justice and leadership. And I work with clerk magistrates. They're the ones that sit before the judge and provide the docket to the judge to make sure that everything is in the folder correctly, like police reports or motions. Anything to help the judge make a decision would be in that folder. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. So, I've talked to people. I just learned more about, what it does and how it operates. And one of the things that I love about the Governor's Council is that when a judicial nominee comes up, I'm able to have access to that person and set a time, personal time, for me to speak to them and to find out who they are, what their beliefs is, if their ideology matches the community that they're going to be serving, and what do they know about substance abuse and mental health, and how important is it to provide resources for them to get the help instead of, incarcerating them. Because oftentimes when I was working with my clients, they'd always tell me, if I go to jail, I'll sober up for 30 days, and then when I get back, I'll relapse, because we're doing a cold turkey kind of tactic, but we're not really identifying what the issue is. This person is stealing. Well, let's look at the Board of Probation, which is the record of, what the crimes that they committed. Why they're stealing so much? Do they have an addiction that they're feeding by stealing? So these are some of the things that we want to make sure that judges are aware of these issues, and that they're making an effort to not only give down sentences, but also showing that they're willing to partner up with organizations or know about these organizations enough that if they put someone into a treatment program, that this person will be successful once they exit out that program.
Nice. And, one of the nice things about talking to people face to face is that even if you end up, approving, I don't know, everybody. I don't think you necessarily do. But even if you were to end up approving everybody, having the opportunity to talk to people before they get the job, and kind of impress upon them the issues that are important, not just to you, but to the overall community, is like, that's a real opportunity.
Absolutely. I am, it's 8 of us on the council, and we each designate a time to speak to the nominee. And I can honestly say that our governor and lieutenant governor has done a phenomenal job of getting a diverse group of people. I've met a lot of different attorneys from different backgrounds that has actually demonstrated that they know that it's a people's court. So that I admire. But I don't want to be that rubber stamp, right? Where you're always voting yes, yes, yes to a nominee. Well, we really need to dissect what it is that we're trying to do. I've chaired 9 hearings so far, so those are people within my district, attorneys within my district.
Oh, I see. So if the attorney or judge or nominee is from within your district, then you're the one who chairs the meeting?
Yes, absolutely. So I would chair them, and I would actually do background, because we get a thorough application that they have completed. We look at these applications, we go over it, and sometimes we can get opposition letters, sometimes we can get good recommendation letters from officials, employees. But for me, I will receive everything and I will talk to them about it. Even if something is an opposition against them, I would talk to them and be like, can you explain to me why this individual would be, in opposition of your nomination? So it's, for me, I take it personally.
Yeah.
Do
you get to interview the people who sent opposition letters too?
No.
Oh, okay.
So they'll call and leave a conversation, a message, excuse me.
Yeah.
But out of courtesy, I would return the call and listen to them and ask them certain questions that would trigger them to want to have this person to be not become a judge.
Right.
And to me, I know, if you've been practicing for more than 10 years, in the judicial system, you are qualified because you are a licensed practicing attorney. But what's most important to me is, what is your personal experience? What makes you empathetic? What makes you a good fit to be on the bench? What makes you understand if somebody's coming at a vulnerable time in their life in front of you? What makes me sure that you will understand this individual? And, we really need to understand that judges have power, and they can take your child away. They can take your home away. They can take your land away. And, and this is a position that this judge will be in until 70 years old. Oh, wow. So it's kind of like a life appointment.
Yeah, or until retirement.
Until retirement, right? Yeah. So we have to really be careful for the interest of justice, but also in the interest of our constituents, that they will, when they go into a courtroom, whether the decision is favorable to them or not, that they actually feel that they were being heard.
Right.
And that's what's important to me.
And the Governor's Council has the ability to veto a nomination.
Right.
Right. If you don't vote, I think you were telling me you need to get 6 out of the 8 votes in order to be approved. Yes.
Yes. And some of us vote no for their own personal reasons. Some of us vote yes. And if it's a tie, then the lieutenant governor would break the tie. Okay. But we individually look precisely at this nominee. It's like a review. Yeah. Like a review board, but we're the council that makes sure that the governor is picking the right nominee for us to make that judgment, whether or not this person is the best fit. And I want to be clear to our constituents. I am working for them. I'm not working for the governor. I'm not working for the lieutenant governor. I am simply working for the people who put me and voted me on that seat. Yeah. So that's why I take my job seriously. I mean, I don't get any personal gain out of it. Right. It's only a salary of $36,000, which you can't even live off of.
No, you can't live off of that.
You can't. So I think this is something money can't even buy. This is justice. Yeah. And for me, I am so very grateful, and I am full of gratitude that I'm able to be in this seat where I can actually make sure that we have a judge that recognizes the systematic racism that's happening in our country or in our community, that they know that our women's reproductive rights are at stake, our education is at stake, our green spaces, energy is at stake. So we really want to make sure that we have someone that we can hold accountable, but also my constituents are holding me accountable for making the right decision on their behalf.
Absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about what the dynamic is like on the council. I understand there's 8 people from all different districts. Right. You're all Democrats, but presumably you come from different walks of life. Some people have been on the council for a long. Is there a term limit for governor's council?
No, you just run for the seat every 2 years.
You have to run every 2 years, but like a congressperson, you could theoretically stay there.
Right.
until you die, right?
Until you die, or until your constituents feels like you're not doing what you need to do. As you stated, for me, it's not a party issue. Yeah. It's a humanitarian issue right now.
Absolutely.
And whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, we all have a goal, and that is to serve people. And on our council right now, I think we have a solid base. I know. We have a solid base where we respect each and everyone's opinion. We respect each and every person's vote, but we have one common goal, and that is to make sure we have someone who is trustworthy on the bench, that there's transparency, and that we can have a conversation when a nominee comes up. If we do not feel comfortable, we do not move forward.
Yeah.
And, like you stated, it's 8 of us from all different districts, but we all represent over more than 30 cities and towns.
Right.
So it's a congressional district, as I stated, but it's a healthy council.
So have there so far been some nominees that you had to reject as a council?
There's been a couple of votes that have been no, but nothing has been rejected.
Oh, okay. How does that?
The majority. The
Yeah.
majority has to. If the majority is no, then they'll just reject it.
Okay.
But if the majority is yes, they will accept the nomination.
Okay. Oh, so you're saying there have been times when you personally voted no, but so far you haven't been there at a time when the council as a whole rejected the nominee?
Exactly.
Okay.
But I have not voted no yet.
Oh, okay.
Because
So
this is the first time,
Yeah, 'cause
I'm
you've
on
only
the
been
council.
at it for a few months.
I'm only at it for a few months. I've been satisfied with the nominees that have been coming forward because they come from a variety of experiences within their lives that resonate to our constituents. I can honestly tell you that since working, what makes it a little easier for me, since the last 10 years or decades, if you want to say, I've been working in the judicial system. So those who have been coming for nominees are those that I've seen work in action in a courtroom. I've worked various places in the Commonwealth, like Quincy, Stoughton. I was at Superior Court, working at Dorchester Court, Roxbury Court, South Boston Court. I visited Rentham Court. So I'm very familiar with the people who are currently working and has worked in our court system. So when they come for a nominee, I've already had a bird's eye view of what type of person. Because when I tell you, when you're in a courtroom, sitting there 8 hours a day, it becomes repetitive, but you get to learn so many things from so many different people. And you also build relationships. You build relationships with police officers, you build relationships with clerk magistrates, you build relationship with even the judge. But every day is different.
Yeah.
And if you can help someone that day, it's a good feeling, at least for me. And I speak a second language. I speak Haitian Creole. Nice. So there are some, districts where there's like a high population of, Haitians that come to the courtroom that needs interpreters, where if there's not enough that day, the judge will call me to assist. So these are the things that I've done along the way that, made it a solid go for me to move forward and to become a governor's council.
Yeah. And currently, as you said, 36,000 a year is not enough to live on.
No.
So while you do your work on the governor's council, you are also, you told me, a
legal advocate.
Legal advocate
for domestic violence homeless shelter, where I help women and children that's been battered by or have gone through domestic violence in many different ways. So I help women get restraining orders. I talk to them on how that restraining order looks. I will get a copy of the police report, just let them know ways of how to protect themselves, and if they need to, get child support, what kind of application they need to complete. And it's a nonprofit organization that I just help women understand what their rights are, because there's a lot of women that don't. And domestic violence comes in all forms. It's not only physical, but it is emotional, financial. It could be spiritual, it could be mental. And it's very important that people know what their rights are.
Yeah.
And so, because in that way, you know, people won't violate your rights, because everyone has rights.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, with the knowledge that I have, to always, you know, put my best foot forward and help the next person to get to where they need to get.
Awesome. I want to ask you a question that
Sure.
I ask everybody. It's sometimes at different times in the interview, but this seems like a good time. I believe that everybody who is involved in politics, or even thinks about politics every now and then, has at least one subject where they feel like not enough people understand what's going on, where they feel like either the message we receive from society is dead wrong, or you know, there's some group of people who are spreading misinformation.
Right.
There's something that, like, once you get on that subject, you could rant about it, and your family's telling you, I know, I've heard this before, right? What is that for you? What's that thing that, like, people don't understand that
That's
they really need to understand?
Given what's happening right now across the world, our country, where we're going as a country and where we're headed, it's just, you know, it's disheartening to see, you know, the pointing fingers, Democrats, Republicans, Democrats, Republicans. At the end of the day, I believe we all have an end goal, is to live a life of the American dream. And what that American dream, what does that mean to me or you, you know? We're not having enough conversations for us to know that at the end of the day, we have a same common goal, and you may not be as different that you think. You know what I mean? We may not look the same, we may not come from the same place, we may not, you know, there's certain things that you may not understand about me or know about me, but if you're not asking me questions or having a conversation, how would you know? And I feel like we've been pointing fingers back and forth for quite some time now. Let's look at the root of the cause. No one is perfect.
Yeah.
No one is perfect. But we have a sense of responsibility to show empathy, love, especially to our next generation. So to answer your question without going around it,
Sure, yeah.
it would be the generation. What are we leaving behind for them? I know you shared you have a 10-year-old, I have a 14-year-old. What am I demonstrating to him?
Yeah.
What am I showing to him on what love looks like, and to help thy neighbor? Just because you come from a different political party, that means we can't work together.
Yeah.
Just because you are a different shade of color, we can't be friends.
Yeah.
You know, where is the humanity in all of this? And, you know, there's senseless crimes are happening, killing in different countries. And when we think about it, we're just eliminating the human race. And there's so much hatred going on right now. It's disheartening, but when I look at the things that I'm doing and I see progress, I just keep fighting and moving forward, because I want to make sure that I leave something behind for the next generation. I want to make sure that I can get up and say, you know, I helped someone today.
Yeah.
Or I can go above and beyond to speak to someone that I normally don't speak, and to learn about this person, and to think in what ways that I can gravitate to more people to help them and educate them. I think education is the big piece. A lot of people are not educated on the issues that are happening now.
Yeah.
We are being spoon-fed the information,
Right.
versus just picking up a book to learn our history,
Yeah.
and to find out the progress that we have made and where we came from and where we can go based on this information.
Yeah.
And because we are, pardon me,
No, go ahead.
I think sometimes we are so exhausted with what is happening,
Yeah.
we get lazy.
Yeah.
We want people to just tell us. We want people to just tell us how things should go or
Yeah.
how it should look like. But let me open a book and go back in time, history and time, to see how we got to where we got. Where can we make the change? Where can we make movements? Where can we put our best foot forward and collaborate in partnership and see how we can help alleviate this whole situation that we're in? How did we even get there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's it's interesting because especially at times like this where it can feel like the world is collapsing around us,
Right.
and like a handful of individuals can just cause tremendous damage. We have a tendency to like kind of forget almost that society is an endeavor that requires a huge number of people to be involved.
Right.
Right? Like you don't get like roads that work and houses that don't collapse. And so you don't get that just like out of nowhere. These are things that involve a lot of people being involved at different stages of the process.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I've certainly found that that the more I have gotten involved in whether it was politics or just kind of how the town runs, the less I feel the despair that I felt, 8 years ago. That I think everyone is prone to feeling at various times, especially anybody who reads the news,
Right,
anybody
right.
who's involved enough in politics, who cares enough about what's happening outside of their own block, it is prone to despair when
Right.
things don't go our way, when we know that something is going to cause tremendous pain across the country or across the state, and we feel like there's nothing much that we can do about it. I'm
Right.
just one person, and the more I get sort of involved in politics on this small scale level, the more I start to understand that, like, wow, there's a tremendous number of just one persons.
Yeah.
Right? There's a
Yeah.
tremendous
Yeah.
number of people involved in making something that works. And as much as we are losing right now, every day, every week, every month, there's also the people who jump straight to despair and say, oh well, R.I.P.
Right.
R.I.P. America. I guess we'll have to start from scratch. Like,
Right.
no, there's a lot here that functions. There's a lot here that works well if people are involved.
Exactly.
And like, the more I get involved, the less despair I feel. The more people I know get involved, the less despair they feel.
Right.
Because we can still build things
Of
together.
course, absolutely. And I think there's a misconception if that problem doesn't identify with me, that has nothing to do with me and I don't care.
Right.
At this time right now, everyone is a target.
Yeah.
And if you look at no one ever thought their 401k would be impacted. Look what's happening now.
Yeah.
Immigration is impacted. Our education system is being impacted. We're not getting funding.
Absolutely.
We're not. All communities, regardless whether you're urban community or you're a suburban community, all communities are being under attack right now because we're not getting the funding that we need in order to get these programs to help with substance abuse, get these programs for mental health, get these programs to help with after-school programs. And, you know, we have our healthcare, which is the number one thing.
Oh my
And
God.
we know we know we lost so many people during COVID.
Yeah.
And to be in a position where our healthcare is under attack right now is disheartening. Because where is the love for human life?
Yeah.
And I feel like everyone has a job to put their hands into this fight. I identify as a Democrat because their ideology reflects what I think
Absolutely.
and what I believe in. But that doesn't mean someone else who belongs to a different party, I can't agree to disagree, but our number one is to also respect your opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I identify with what I identify because it reflects what it truly means to be a person who loves and cares for their community, who wants to give people their opportunity to live not only the American dream, but the life that you think you deserve. And for me to advocate for you on my highest level for you, to make sure that your rights are not being violated, whether you believe in what I believe or not.
Yeah.
I'm not here to dictate anyone's life. I'm here to make sure that your quality of life is not impacted mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I think that's where people, you know, get stuck.
Yeah.
And we get ourselves into trouble because we're so worried about what this person is doing and what we think this person should be doing, or who this person should love, and what is the right thing for this person to do, and who they should marry. No, that's none of your business. Your business is to make sure that no one's right is violated and that everyone is living the way that they should. And everyone has an opportunity to wake up each and every day and say that I can go home to my family and provide for them. And, you know, we have a lot of work to do. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. But can we move and see progress? Yes, if we get on and fight together.
Absolutely. You know, as someone who paid a lot more attention to national politics for years and years of my life before I started paying attention to local politics, I didn't get it for some amount of time why it seemed like national Democrats were so addicted to bipartisanship that they couldn't sometimes see the forest for the trees and say, like, hold up now.
Right.
There is something here worth fighting for that is worth disagreeing with my colleagues over more vociferously than just tisking and shaking my head.
Right.
You know, what is it with these people that they care so much about, like, you know, getting 2 Republican votes for their bill that they're willing to water it down till it doesn't mean anything, right? But I started to understand it more as I got more involved in local politics, because I started seeing cases where someone that you know, that I disagreed with on a whole bunch of things.
Right.
You know, thought they were myopic about something, that, you know, found something they said to be racist, found something they said to be deeply objectionable.
Right.
And yet, right, we might turn out to agree about a school,
Right.
about a public park, right? There were still things that you could say, you know, I think so-and-so made a really good point.
Right.
So-and-so that I disagree with about everything, right? They're right about this one. And I could see, like, that actually, it is very emotionally fulfilling to say to yourself, you know what? As much as I frequently, like,
don't align with
certain people on a really base level, because I do think that politics is just what we think the world should be like.
Right.
And that when someone is in political opposition to me, that there is a level of contempt for my beliefs and my way of life, contempt for my values, that because our our values are just not the same.
Right.
But now and then you do find places where you can agree, where you can work together, where you can be glad for their presence, and not say, well, this would be so much easier if these 5 people didn't exist, right?
That's true. That's true.
And there's a lot to be said for that, that kind of approach to saying, like, yeah, I'm going to stand for what I believe because it is more important than shaking hands.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't enjoy and find the opportunities where I can shake hands. Those are both good and important things.
Absolutely. You're right on the money. And a little bit, it's just as what you were saying. I didn't grow up in politics. My parents know nothing about politics. All they wanted me to do is go to church, get an education, go home, and repeat.
Yeah.
We didn't know. I grew up in a strict household. And as I got older, I went off to school and, work experience, started having friends. And I felt like there was just so much more to do out there. I originally, my public service started when I wanted to become a police officer. I originally wanted to become a police officer, but it didn't work out in my favor, which is fine, because I ended up doing other public service jobs.
Yeah.
But I just felt like I've had something in me to give back, especially to young people. Yeah. I have a soft spot for young people because they are the next generation. They need to be heard. They're the ones that is going to be leading us when we get older. So what are we going to prepare for them? If we're not doing anything now, then they're not going to have any motivations to do anything in the future. And we just need to show them what showmanship is all about. We need to show them what teamwork is all about. We need to show them what democracy looks like. We need to show them what advocacy looks like. And if no one is advocating for anyone right now, what will motivate them to do that?
Absolutely.
And I think it's very important, that we start demonstrating what humanity is all about across the country, across our communities, getting involved. I was a town meeting rep, and, it was just an eye-opener for me to get to learn, what things are happening in my town. I believe I was there for 2 years. And it's just so refreshing to know what you can do in your capacity once you get involved.
Yeah.
And, I would encourage anyone who is in the community in Stoughton that would like to be part and to help change things around, start by being a town meeting rep.
Yeah.
Start by getting involved into organizations. I'm also part of a committee in Brockton YMCA where we meet on a quarterly basis and talk about, juvenile detention. How can we help the youth from being, victimized or getting into the prison, pipeline to prison, and being able to rehabilitate them from getting back into the prison system. How do we identify? How do we partner with the police department to strengthen the community policing? How do we make sure that we have things in place to prepare them from making mistakes over and over again? And I cannot tell you how many times I've met people within my career, servicing them in the probation department, how it only started off with one thing, and then they just spiraled down because they didn't get the support that they need. Absolutely. Oftentimes, these people are good people, but they made a bad decision during a difficult time in their life.
Yeah, and the important thing to remember is that in so many of our wealthier communities, in so many of our more privileged communities, there are just the same number of mistakes.
Right.
It's just who is allowed second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth chances to improve their situation, right? It's like you come back to the same. There's disparities, for example, in drug crime convictions, but there aren't disparities in drug use.
No, and you're right.
Right?
Because to validate what you're saying, I went to Dover-Sherborne Regional High School.
Okay.
So that is one of the wealthiest and one of the best education system that someone can get from that town. So, you know, my sisters and I went to Dover-Sherborne Regional High School. We got the best education, but the youth there were just doing so much drugs.
Right.
And I've lost some of my friends due to that.
Yeah.
But you don't hear it because it's coming from a town. They don't report on it because it's a wealthy town that will bring or diminish the name of the town, or
Absolutely.
and not saying that, you know.
And, you know, they're from such a nice
Exactly.
family.
They
right?
come from a nice family. They're fine.
Yeah.
But that's where we come from, disparities, because the media, social media, has a lot to play with how information is being sent out to people, and people are buying these information. You'll hear more towns are more violent than others when some of them are not being reported, but it's actually the same.
Yeah.
So just to validate your point.
Yeah. So it, you know, it's very like it's worth engaging with, right? With the fact that you know the so many of the disparities are disparities in how many second chances you've been given,
Right?
Not disparities in like how many mistakes you've made, right? And the fact that we can have people who make one or two mistakes that send them down this inexorable path to prison, to, you know, then back out but not supported, then back into prison, right? These are
Classism.
Yeah.
It's based on your class. It's based on middle class, lower class, and high class. It's based on how much money you have, and if you have so much amount of money, certain issues you don't care about because it doesn't impact you.
Right.
Because you can live this quality of life that you want to live. You can live this lifestyle that you want to live versus someone who's just working paycheck to paycheck, sending their kids to school, and they have to work 2 jobs to maintain their household. Those two can't identify with each other's problems.
Yeah.
And that's where you get all these issues happening, because it's affecting people who really are working to provide a good life. And then when parents are not even around because they're too busy working, you know, 2 jobs for their children, what ends up happening? The child is the one that's left behind. They get into these types of trouble, and there goes the system that they get into.
Right. That kind of grinds them up almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's oh man. that took us down
that would take us
there.
to a different rabbit hole. But these are the things that we need to make these people think about.
Yeah.
Like these are the things that are happening right now, you know. And how long are we going to let this keep going on?
Yeah.
And we really need to understand that no one is above the law. We need to understand that if it can happen to you, it can happen to me.
Absolutely.
And we need to make sure that we are really demonstrating what love thy neighbor is all about. Yeah. Because I care about you more enough to know that your problem is my problem, and I'm willing to fix it. I'm willing to do what I can do in my capacity, whether it's sharing information, it's having dialogues, it's having a conversation on your show, to give people an opportunity to think outside the box, to learn their history, to learn, you know, what is happening in our country. Because if we don't take any action, it's just going to get worse and worse. Yeah,
absolutely. And, you know, on the more local level, you know, I'm sure your work has put you in a position to have profound empathy for people who are going through the same thing that, you know, might have happened to friends of yours or in your family, or that, you know, but you know the ones who got the second chances, and you're working with the ones who didn't necessarily, and you get kind of an opportunity to help people claw their way back out of that hole that society has put them in.
Absolutely. I think everyone deserves a second chance. There are people who can't be rehabilitated. I understand that. There are people that need to learn from their actions, because I've worked with victims and I've seen the impacts that has happened to them. It's taken a toll on them mentally. I'm very victim driven, but I'm also able to know that people can change. And it's going to take some tools, and it's going to take some resources to help them to make those changes and to continue to continue to make sure that they're not doing what they once did.
Which actually brings us back to another one of the things that the Governor's Council does, which is that I understand you've only been there a few months and haven't necessarily gone through a whole cycle, but you also approve pardons and commutations.
Yes. So what happens is that with the pardon, you get pardoned from the charges that you have committed, and it will go through the parole board. And that application, there is a processing time for it. Then the governor will get it, and then she will review it, and then it will go to the council for us to, make a decision. And we look at these.
So the governor's not like the final word on this.
No, the council is.
Interesting.
And we will, once we give our yes or no, we will then, then it will be acted upon. And it's very important. It's very important stuff that we do on the council, first of all. But we also take our time for the interests of justice to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And again, like I stated, transparency is the key. And, we're working to push these things even further right now with the governor and putting it on her radar to get this going so that more people can, get pardons. Like I know the governor earlier on this year did a pardon on weed, on marijuana drugs charges.
Like a blanket pardon.
Exactly, on marijuana charges, because what I've experienced is that when my clients were on probation, we would ask them, you need to get a job. It would be a condition. You have to find a job to work. And
they'd say, well, but I had to check the box that says that I had been convicted
and then
of a crime.
These charges, these marijuana charges, were one of the things that hindered them from getting a job. And it's really important that, we're asking people to do things and they can't do it. So that was a good start on her end, on the governor's end, pardoning the marijuana charges.
So did that process work the same way, where she said, like, I want to pardon all of these charges, and then the council had to vote?
It was
yes, we're in favor of that.
I was on the council when she did that one. So it was more of a national news, that it was like a blanket statement that all the marijuana charges would be pardoned. And it was refreshing, and we're working towards that again, to make sure that there's more opportunities for that. But definitely, we want to make sure we're holding people accountable too. We want our judges to hold people accountable, but in a way where it's fair and just.
And where you can have accountability without having kind of an unnecessarily punitive system.
Absolutely.
Right? Because about most charges, about most convictions, if you tell your neighbor, some random person, you tell them, so-and-so was convicted of this, and then you make up a number. You make up, just completely off the top of your head, and say, oh, they got 3 years in prison for it. What do you think of that? I feel like most people would say, yeah, that sounds reasonable, right? About almost anything. And you can say, well, so-and-so was convicted of sexual assault. And you can make up a number anywhere between like, whatever, 2 years and like 40 years,
Right.
and say, what would you think about them spending that amount of time in prison? Almost everybody says, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Well,
a terrible crime.
it is.
Right? But there's there's certainly a degree to which our willingness to like accept without thinking about it almost any penalty,
Right.
once we know that the crime is a bad crime, really kind of, first off, it gives a lot of wiggle room for disparities,
Right.
Because if any number sounds good to me, and I'm the judge, right, then if you're the prosecutor and you're like, systemically suggesting higher numbers for
Right.
some people than you do for others, and I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
right?
we don't want those kind of judges.
Exactly.
Judges have discretion, and we want them to use it when it's appropriate. But the good thing is, any cases that are heard in district court, the charges go up to 2.5 years.
Okay.
And serious cases go to Superior Court, where they get longer sentences.
Yeah.
So I like you were saying, we want judges to see through, the criminal justice systems and the disparities that happen, and that they're using their discretion. And if a prosecutor is asking more than what is required, that the judge can read between the lines and be like, well, this states in this chapter states this is the minimum required time that they need to do.
Yeah, and
so,
we have a horrendously punitive carceral system. Right?
We do.
We have an incredibly dehumanizing system for any amount of time spent
Right.
in prison.
Right.
And you talk to somebody who has encountered that system from the inside, and you go, whoa, our society almost encourages us to say oh, good, they're not here, so we can forget about them. But the even a few months in prison is not a walk in the park. Right.
Right. And that's why it's good to be educated and to do your research. Harvard has done multiple researches on how Black and brown folks are more likely to be charged on a higher level than their other counterparts. So that's why it's always good to educate yourselves as to what's happening in the community and also in the judicial system, because the research is there.
Yeah.
And you get a sense of understanding how important our criminal justice is, and how it's important to make sure that we have people in positions that are in power are being fair and are applying the book when it needs to be applied.
Yeah. Okay, Tamisha Civil, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you,
Is there
Noah.
anything that you want to say to people before we go?
Well, I just want to say thank you to all who's tuning in. But I also, if you want to know more about me, you can visit my website, TamishaCivil.com. It's TAM, M as in Mary, ISHA, Civil, CIVIL, as in civil rights.com.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Come on, sugar. Woo! Come on. I'll work it.